Good morning, my name's Tyler. I'm part of Ethan Rubin History Boys, and this morning I'm going to give you a talk about the 101st American Airborne and the kit that they would have had while fighting out in the field. And I'm also going to be talking about the 1942 Dodge that I have packed up behind me. Okay, so you may be sitting and thinking, is that all they had? Well, it's not. So on my webbing, which I have no longer have, is my M36 musette bag. So as you can see, it's kind of like the British small pack. It's different to the Doughboy pack which the infantry had. So it's just a simple bag, kind of like a backpack. So you have one main compartment and then a side compartment. So these were typically, once they've landed, ditched if they were no longer wanted to carry them. Some of the time they'd have either spare clothes to go underneath, so maybe a jumper that their families made for them, or spare rations if they've been able to nick some more before jump, or if they've found some more of their dead friends, they can nick them, shove them in their bag and carry on. The next thing that I'm missing is an entrenching tool. So they're same as exactly the same as a normal American soldier would have had. So there was two. There was a T-handle shovel, which is just a shovel, kind of like a little mini spade, which I'll talk about more in a minute. And then we have a folding one. So it comes like this, and you just unfold it and you screw it up to use it, or you can even have it as kind of like a pickaxe to hit away at things. And then the T-handle shovel came in again, just a normal webbing set with a cover. This one was a bit more not as good, as it was just a simple spade, but the edges were sharper. So again, you could use it as an axe, but it wouldn't be as effective as possibly the folding one. So with the two of them, it was known that the T-handle was more preferred, as it was a lot more lightweight and easier to carry. You just have it on your webbing set and you don't really feel it's there. Whereas the folding one is a lot heavier due to the fact that it is made more of metal, and you've got to have the working parts to keep it so it can fold away and you can tighten it again. So again, they would just clip onto the webbing set, same as everything else. And there is one more thing that I'm missing. See, you get a toggle rope. They were used to get down off of trees. All it is just a bit of rope tied round. My one is gone. It's in a tree. Most people, if they use them to get out of a tree, you don't get them back. They might rip for your body weight, or they might rip for a branch, and then they're useless. Okay, so the first part of the kit that I'm going to be talking about is the Corcoran jump boots. So these were issued to every single paratrooper. Only the paratrooper wore these. As the title shows, they are jump boots. They come above the ankle to give you ankle support. They are laced up with leather laces, which then you have your trousers bloused over the top of your boots. And then I go on to the M42 jump trousers with reinforced knee pads and pockets. So the reinforced areas are to give it more wear and tear, so you don't rip your trousers or your pockets easily, as these are the two main areas which your trousers will be using. And then as I come up, I then have my M42 jump jacket, same as the trousers, with reinforced pockets and elbow pads. So again, these are just for protection, so you don't rip your pockets or your elbows easily, as they're the bits that will be either having more contact with the ground or that you'll be going into more. As you can see, it is a long sleeved shirt, which it just gives you more protection on the arms from while you're rolling around in mud, so you don't have dirt or anything trying to rip into you as much. And then if I undo my jacket, I have my M37 woolen shirt. So these were used by everyone in the American Army, and many people believe that the paratroopers wore a white shirt, like a white t-shirt, which I have underneath. The shirt that was worn was the M37. The woolen shirt was worn underneath the shirt to stop the wool from irritating your skin. So that's where you get the white t-shirt thought from when you see a paratrooper. And then on my head I have my garrison cap with a late war patch, and then with piping around the sides, which is light blue. And then if we go back down, on my arm I have my 101st American Airborne patch, also known as the Screaming Eagles. As you can see, it's been put on during combat where it's ripped off, so it's all flaky. So there was two main patches you would have saw for the American Airborne, which would be the Screaming Eagles for the 101st, or the 82nd Airborne, which was a red and blue patch, which would be worn in the same area. If I had a rank of any kind, it would be put on my arm here and here to display it, but unfortunately at the minute I'm still classed as a private. Okay, so as you can see, I've now changed. I've added my webbing set and helmet. So this is then the combat gear. So starting at the bottom again, I now have my M3 fighting knife with my M6 scabbard. So this was used for hand-to-hand combat if needed. So it's sort of like a bayonet, but it doesn't attach. Obviously it's just for your hand for fighting, which then attach either to your leg or to your webbing set. It was just your choice really. And then up here I then have my M36 pistol belt. So there were two types of webbing set belts that you could have had. There was either a pistol belt, which was for the M1 carbine or the Thompson, and then if you had a Garand, you would have a Garand belt, which was a magazined holder pouch belt, whereas this one is just a simple belt which has everything attached onto it. So going from that, I then have my M36 suspenders, which holds up my belt, which then obviously keeps it tight. And then I have my friction tape, which tapes up the excess strap that I do not need. And then going this way round, I have my Carlisle bandage pouch, which inside has my Carlisle bandage tin. So each paratrooper had one of these. It was their personal first aid kit. And then this way I now have my M10 water bottle with a cap inside. So every soldier in the American Army had one. There's different versions for different units. So yeah, and now on my side I have my Colt 1911. So this is a semi-automatic pistol, which holds a 8-round clip. So most of the time you may not have had these, but the Airborne did, as it was needed. Most people had a private purchase one of these, or they could have had a revolver. That was if their family had given them one, or if they brought them themselves. So most of the time they may have had a revolver that their father may have used in the First World War that they've been given for this war. And then going up on my head, I have an M1C paratrooper helmet. So as you can see, it's got a helmet net on it with Hessian to keep it camouflaged. So the differences between an M1C helmet and an M1 helmet, which was the normal they had, is that it just has more brackets so it can fit to your head, and it come with a chin. Okay, so as you can see now, we're now going to talk about the food. So this is a K ration crate. So inside it is basically just a load of boxed meals. So you have your breakfast ration, your dinner ration, and your supper ration. So they were all each designed for the different parts of the day. So what would happen inside of it? So you would have a tin of either processed cheese or cheese and bacon, or some sort of soup, which you'd then get a pack which has some sort of cereal bar kind of food. You would also then get a pack of biscuits. You'd also get some chewing gum, some powdered squash as a sort, and a coffee sachet. Because obviously everybody knows that the Americans like coffee. So you'd also get some cigarettes and some matches to light your cigarettes. Another thing that if you were lucky to get in your ration packs would be some sweets. So here you see we have assorted charms. You might get some milk drops, or if you're lucky and you see some British, you could possibly get some fruit pastels off them. Anything you can get hold of really, or you could swap them for more cigarettes or more coffee. Another thing that you might get, because obviously you're still supposed to be keeping yourself clean and well shaven out in the field, is your razor and shaving foam. So once again, even though you're out in combat, you're still expected to be clean shaven, and each day before you go out to potentially look out for some enemies or just do a routine patrol, you're expected to be cleaned, shaven, and then you reapply your camouflage. And now the next thing is, we all know that the Americans had Coke. Before the war, obviously, Coke was still a big thing. So the Americans had it during the war, which was just to keep the morale boost of the soldiers. So here we have a display just showing that, you know, it was in large quantities. Everybody had it. Because, you know, it's a nice tasting drink compared to having to drink water or powdered squash. There's a funny story before the war that Adolf Hitler really enjoyed Coke, and he then declared, and then the war started, and then the war started with America and Germany as well, which then meant that Adolf Hitler couldn't have Coke, which then meant Adolf Hitler had to start his own fizzy drink up, which he had to have, which was Fanta. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is, you've seen the kit, you've seen some food and drink, and before we go on to other stuff, I'm going to talk about myself more. And obviously you can see that my pockets are full, so everybody was expected to carry what they were having on them. So it wasn't you'd be getting frequent shipments from the army, or that you'd get more food come in. So what you carried was your life. So you'd get your K rations. You might have a box of K rations come from HQ, but you may carry your own rations. So again, in here I just have my tin of soup, of cheese, some cigarette gum, crackers, and some sugar to go with my coffee. And then in the other side, down in my left side pocket, I carry a Mark II grenade, also known as a pineapple grenade. So obviously you'd have to try and defend yourself. If you don't have the right weaponry compared to what the others have, obviously you're going to be at a disadvantage. So these were used quite often. So obviously it's a simple grenade. So you pull the pin out and you throw it. It has about a 4 to 5 second obviously time before it then will go off. There's not really a distance on it, it's how far you can throw it really, and if you throw it right in front of you, then it's most likely that you're gonna, you know, do something bad to yourself. So once again, these were quite used popularly. The Americans hated these because it weren't a German stick grenade. A stick grenade you can throw further, which is then obviously better to use. Also in my pocket, I have another pineapple grenade. I have another spare Carlisle bandage tin, because obviously you need as much help as you can get. If you if you're hitting multiple places, you need more than one bandage to bandage yourself up. Okay, then moving up into my pockets at the top. So just above where your heart is, I have my Bible. Most people were still quite religious during the war, and obviously most people may have thought that they can try what they can to protect themselves and have God on their side. And then on this side, something else close to most soldiers' hearts is cigarettes. And a pack of matches. So obviously as you may see, I've stolen these from an American officer, which most people did, or they've traded them. Okay, so in my last two remaining pockets that I have on me, in here I just have some Colt mags. Obviously you need as much ammunition as you can get. Two more carbine mags, because again, you can't go wrong with more ammunition. And that is it. And a spare helmet net. Most of the time you may have stolen them just to, sometimes you may have seen soldiers where they've wrapped their rifles with it just to try and blend in a bit more. And then in this side pocket I have my Jeep cap. So it's more of just a woolly hat to keep your head warm. Most people may have worn it underneath their helmet, just obviously keep their head warm while they're out in combat. It's an informal headdress, so you can't go walking around with it all the time. And the last thing that I have on me in this pocket is my pocket knife. So again, it's just a sealed knife in a sealed pocket, which not many enemies may have known about. So again, it's connected with a lanyard to here. So obviously you can't just drop it any easily and lose it. It'll be on here, it'll be on your lanyard and easy for you to find it again. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is a M1 carbine. So there's two versions of the M1 carbine. There's an M1 carbine with a full stock, and then this is an M1A1 carbine. This is the paratrooper version, which was only issued to the paras, with a folding stock, which meant when you jumped it'd go into a leg bag, which was easier to carry. Once again, it's the same as a normal carbine. So it's just a semi-automatic rifle, which has a 15-round magazine, which is fitted underneath. The average range of one of these weapons would be about 250 meters, whereas obviously with your Colt would be about 20 meters, because it's obviously only a sidearm. You could get a bayonet to go on this, which was obviously fit at the end, but it was obviously mostly known that they weren't going to be using them due to the fact of it made the shot obviously less efficient, due to the blade being in the way. Okay, so now I've talked about the kit and the uniform and everything else that I currently have out. I'm now going to talk about my 1942 WC62 Dodge. So as you can see, it is a six-wheeled vehicle. So it is a weapons carrier, obviously with the WC62 name of it. So it carry around the weapons, the ammo, the grenades to the front, to the soldiers that need it. So as you can see in the back, we just have obviously some 30 cal ammunition, some more food, and obviously some spare jerry cans to carry fuel if you've got jeeps and stuff with you. So the vehicle itself weighs around about 3.5 ton, and again can carry around about 3.5 ton in the back. It is obviously a left-hand drive vehicle due to it being an American truck. which is obviously just a single. So there's no power steering like modern cars today. It is a simple vehicle. It is a 6-cylinder petrol truck. It does around about 12 miles to a gallon, which isn't too bad compared to vehicles during the war, where you have something like the British Bedfords, which do around about 6 to 8 miles to a gallon. So this isn't as fuel efficient, whereas others may be. So these would typically use either, so it's meant to be used as a weapons carrier, but if needed to, they can get it to be a personnel carrier. So you could fit around about 18 men in the back, tightly squeezed. And if you really needed to, you could get a few either on the front or on the sides. Just obviously if you need to. This can be stripped down rather easily. You can have the canvas off and the whole cage, which is set up so you can have it open and fit a anti-aircraft gun in the back, which it has been known that there was many that did so. As you can see, again, we have a musette bag on the side. So many men, obviously if they're travelling in them, or if they're trying to get as much ammo and stuff they can into these, they were known to put many musette bags on the side and fill these with ammunition and grenades.